Afternoon, folks. It is time for Friday. You have made it to the end of your week. Congratulations. Today was the Emperor's Children video. I hope you all enjoyed that one. And I'm recording this ahead of time to make sure that we get there in time for the weekend. If you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below. If you really like what I do, then the notification bell is next to that, which is the real subscribe button. If you want to hear from me and know when I'm online, know when I'm doing videos, that's the button to hit, because then YouTube will tell you where I am, what I'm doing. Also, the Patreon is down below. If you want to help me out by buying me a beer over the Christmas period, that is the place to do it. And if you do that, then you get access to all of my videos at least a day early. So, love you all. Let's get started, shall we? First of all, a shout out to RDF. I've been asked to do from a few subscribers. He has had a recent... I didn't know who this guy was over the past couple of weeks, and I was showing his channel, which is really, really, really cool. I will put a link to it in the description down below. He has had a recent fire at his house, which has destroyed all of his hobby stuff, and he was recently very, very devastated by that. His GoFundMe is doing very, very well, and whilst he only asked for $1,000, I know that is a very conservative amount to ask for when your entire house is burned down. So, I know he was asking to get his studio up and running, but let's be honest, he has an entire house to sort out. $1,000 is not going to cut it. So, if you can't afford to give to me, or you're wondering where to put your money this Christmas season, forget about me, head over to the GoFundMe down below and try and help RDF out, because he's a really cool guy. Go and support his channel and make sure that we can get him back on his feet. His studio is actually up and running again, but yeah, he has lost an entire house, so, you know, it costs more than $1,000. So go and help him out if you can, and thank you very much. Let's head on to our first story, shall we? There's one of these which is very, very, very long, but there's the other one which is also very, very, very funny. It's from Korth the Chain Axe. I wonder what army he plays. Anyway, he says, "Howdy North. This hobby nightmare comes from Europe, Germany to be precise, and occurs in 2017 at our local Games Workshop." Alright, cool. I like Games Workshop stories, especially not ones that come from... Well, I love getting stories from staff members, you know, it's great, but it is nice to see it sometimes from people who just work there for a little while. I do like that. He says, "I was working there as relief staff at the time, and actually ended up working for the company for several years before leaving last year to become a game designer. Life is good. The story, however, is a bit gross." Okay. You see, I had a friend named Klaus. Well, a friend is kind of pushing it. He was a customer I would often speak to in the store, and he was generally a good guy. He was, however, a massive neckbeard. I want you to imagine somebody called Dragon Lord. Google him. He is a German streamer who attracts a lot of interesting press, let's say. This is pretty much what Klaus looked like. Yeah, I've seen Dragon Lord. I've actually seen him on one of Count Dankula's videos. Yeah, cringe. Cringe is He's a lolcow, but he's also extremely cringe, and yeah, the biggest neckbeard I've ever seen would be what I'm going with there. Now, being a neckbeard is not in itself a crime. Far from it, actually, as some of those guys are some pretty hilarious dudes, and are just in the process of figuring out who they want to be and how they want life to go and how it works. Klaus, however, was insufferable. He was always the loudest one in the room, bashing other people's armies and playstyles, and stank to high heaven, I shit you not. This guy was the pits, but in a more harmless and annoying kind of way. Weirdly, I'd still consider him a friend at the time, as I'd help him out if need be, and I know he'd do the same for other people. He was just one of those abrasive personalities that made you think that he was dealing with some mental issues, before you realised, nah, he's just an edgy arsehole. Yeah, I've known many people like that in my time, working for the company and working in other game stores, man. Like, they come around all the time, these edgy ass neckbeards who just rub you up the wrong way. Yeah, it comes a time where you just gotta discount these people and just be like, okay, you know, you're not for me, it's fair enough. Each time Klaus was in the shop or on his way, we would hear him first, loudly shouting about the mall, about some aspect of 40k lore, whilst doing over-the-top impressions of characters that try to break the hearing of his friends, sometimes right into their ears. Dude, how does this guy have friends? This shows you what a cool place the hobby is. Even this guy has friends. This is what I don't get when people come to me and say I can't find anyone to be friends with in the hobby. Dude, this guy has friends. You know, just put that into perspective. A lot of it's internal. If you can't find anybody in the hobby, you're not getting out there enough. Because there are guys out there who will genuinely take you under their wing. And, yeah, if this guy can get friends, so can you. Then would come the smell, as Klaus would walk into the store like he owns the place. The really horrid thing was that a lot of the girls who once came to the store just stopped. There were 3 originally. All of them were targeted by Klaus with lewd comments and statements such as, "I wonder how you'd look in those robes," he says as he points towards the demonette, the demonette model that a girl is playing with on a tabletop. This would get eye rolls from the girls, and as a relief staff worker, I didn't really have the power to discipline him. The manager did. But Klaus, for all of his faults, was actually pretty well off. Right, before I go any further, none of that money's going to be his. He was pretty well off after an inheritance. Yeah, there you go. So spent a lot of time in the store. And money. Unfortunately, that kind of gave him a free pass with the manager. Okay, this is something that I'm on both sides of. Okay? I've been a GW manager when they've been really pressing for profit. And so I needed to entertain people who I normally wouldn't have entertained. This guy's behaviour, though, I'm too much of a sour, annoyed bastard to take this. I would take your money, take your stupid ass neckbeard, only covers half your face, take your pants, go and buy a belt, and fuck off out my store. Got no need to have you here at all. Like, the only female energy we have in the store has been chased off by you. Go fuck yourself. Bye bye. Off you go. That would just be my reaction to a guy like this. I've only ever done it once, but this is not. Oh, this guy is just beyond the pale. To be honest with you, I know you're saying he's your friend, and he's somebody that you got along with, but nah, man, come on, come on. Also, the manager needs to grow a pair of balls and kick him out. Unless his store's going to tank without him, get rid of him. Yeah, it's going to drive more people away. I'd rather have 10% less sales that month, but have them from people that I actually like and want to be in the hobby, than have my sales as they are with this twat walking around the store. Because he's going to drive other people away. Anyway, Klaus also had another habit of proclaiming his love for Nurgle. I knew he'd be a Nurgle player. Sorry, lads. I know a lot of you are nice blokes, but like the amount of Nurgle players I've known who are quite neckbeardy and have really bad personal hygiene, you know. I've known many more nice Nurgle players than bad ones. You know what I mean? I've known many more nice Nurgle players than bad ones. It's just the bad ones, you can smell them coming from like down the street. So, Klaus also had another habit of proclaiming his love for Nurgle before letting out a rancid and very loud fart. He would do this once a gaming session at least. Stop the game so everybody looks at him, then fart. He is around 30 years old, by the way. I am readily growing sick of his behaviour at this point, and I've gone to the manager numerous times about this already, but I've been told it will sort itself out in time, quote unquote. Well, the manager, whilst a coward, actually turned out to be right this time. One day, Klaus stands at the gaming table playing his Death Guard against a newly minted girl gamer who came into the store with some Sisters of Battle. He said to her, and I quote, "The Repentiers are about to get repentied." Oh no. The Repentiers are about to get repentied. I shouldn't laugh at that. I'm so going to hell. What a cunt though! What a twat! Why is he saying this to people in the store? Like, I know I'm saying it with a smile on my face because it is a funny line when I read it, but my god, that is a... Dude, this guy... Get him out. Get him out of the hobby, please. Get him out. Get him in the sea. Get him in the... Put him in a bin. Roll him down the beach in the bin. Close the bin lid and put him in the fucking sea. You'll get a wash that way. Still smell like garbage. Ugh. Which is a great play on words, so Korth says. which is a great play on words, but what a fucking douche nozzle this guy was. During the game in which he is beating her sisters, quite easily, he stops everybody, of course, shouts loudly, "Plague for the plague god," and lets out a very wet-sounding fart. I roll my eyes behind the cash register. The store goes quiet though, and I look up to see that Klaus's face has gone very white. Klaus has not only just soiled his pants fully, but he got the attention of the entire store before doing so. Oh, karma's a bitch. Karma's a bitch. Now I did something pretty shitty here. Pun intended. Good lad. Good lad. Love the dad jokes. Now I did something pretty shitty here. Pun intended. Klaus turns to me and asks to use the bathroom, and I simply state, "It's not. It's for staff only, dude." And it is. Unless you have a medical emergency, you can't go in there. We'd be liable if you got hurt, which is also true. Yeah, that is true. So do not ever go into a Games Workshop expecting to use the toilet. We're not allowed to let you in the back room. We're not allowed to let you in the back to use the toilet unless it's a really serious medical emergency. We can't let you do it. And this doesn't seem like it is. Korth says, "This was not a medical emergency, but a self-induced embarrassment. I told him I'd pack up his models for him, and he could go to the Burger King across the way and use their toilets instead." Fair enough, ruin everybody's meals, but fair enough. He did so, returned the next morning, and got his models when we just opened, so it was quiet. He filed an official complaint that he was not allowed to use the bathroom, and we never saw that fat fuck again. It remains the most satisfying way I've ever lost one of my social circle. Cheers, Korth. Cheers, man. Yeah, we're not allowed to let you use the toilet. So, you know, is what it is. Because if you go and you fall down in there, or if you go and you shoot up in there, or if anything happens that can damage the reputation of Games Workshop, we are liable for what happens in there. That's why we don't let you in there. We are also technically not allowed to let you use your own third-party paints in store. Why? Well, the reason I was told was because, and I got in trouble for this because I said I'd let them use the paints. Why not? Right? Don't really have a problem with it. And I was told, no, you're not allowed to let them use the paints because if somebody drinks the paints, we don't know what's in it. With Citadel stuff, we can tell you exactly what's in the paints and exactly what it can do to the human body. If somebody uses Vallejo stuff or something like that, we don't know what's in it. So when the paramedics get there, we can't tell them what's wrong. Fine. I mean, the ingredients are on the side of the packaging, but whatever. But yeah, that's just what Games Workshop say anyway. But you're still going to get into trouble if you break the rules. Will Check says, "How's it going, North? Will here. And I apologise in advance if this story is too long, or I go off on a tangent. Don't worry, man, we got time. I've been listening to your channel since getting into our wonderful hobby several months ago, and I have to say, you make great content and well deserve far more subscribers. Thank you, man. Keep up your fabulous work for the tabletop community." Yeah, so I know this channel's doing well, and the reason why I know the channel's doing well, even though we're not getting many new subscribers, is because every time YouTube shows me to somebody who is new, I get more subs. So every single time, there's a thing on the analytics page that shows you, like, your returning viewers, which is always healthy. Thank you very much for that, by the way. You guys rock. I love you. I love the fact that we retain you, and you're here to have a little chat with me and to go over things, right? We have returning viewers is always steadily climbing, steadily going up, right? And we have new viewers, which is like 1% of that at the bottom. Nobody. Hardly anybody's new is watching the videos, right? That means YouTube isn't showing me to people. Just isn't showing me to anybody. And every time it does, every time that goes up a little bit, my subscribers get a bump as well. So every single time that new viewership goes up a little bit, even if it's a tiny bit, my subscriber count will go up as well. Like, in exactly the same shape, it'll go up like that. That's how I know that when people watch my content, generally, they subscribe. And that's amazing. That's really cool, and I love having you here. But it's also really frustrating that I know it's YouTube who are putting the brakes on the channel. That's really, really shitty. And there's nothing I can do about that. Like, I have an amazing guy, James, who does really cool thumbnails, All of my titles of my videos are not clickbaity but interesting. I'd like to think that they're interesting, and my videos generally, I'd like to think are entertaining, and they keep people around. Like all of my numbers when people are staying to the end of the video, they're always there. They're doing well. It's just they're not being shared, which is why I say please click the notification bell, or you'll never hear from me again. I'm not sure if it happens to everybody in the YouTube sphere. I'm pretty sure it does though. Anyway, Wilczek says, I'm 34 and working towards my Masters in English to become a teacher. Good lad. As I found out through the years of DMing and other tabletop RPGs that I love literature, and that I am more than capable of standing up in front of friends and even strangers, go out of my comfort zone and teach and even entertain. I wouldn't trade any of my experiences I've learned through our hobbies. Excellent stuff, man. This is why tabletop gaming in general is so fucking cool. It brings this out in people. We've now got a new teacher, which we need, entering into the space through the hobby. Lovely stuff. Right. This story, along with the others I will be writing in the future, are unfortunately about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. But first, I want to share a good part of the tabletop hobby and a little bit of insight into what kind of DM I am. Okay. I love the mystery and dark horror aspect of D&D, as most of its lore and monsters are rooted in some sort of horror, and I try, when the scene calls for it, to make my players play a character miserable whilst keeping it fun and interesting for my players. I never actively seek to kill my players, only to push them, and sometimes pretty hard. For example, one of my darker sessions I've ever had was a psychological torture scene in the module Curse of Strahd, involving my homebrew rule of, whenever a character/NPC falls unconscious, they get a single point of exhaustion. The party had violently antagonised the main villain, Strahd von Zarkovic, during a short dialogue in which I was hoping to give some insight into his character and why he finds it amusing to watch the local townsfolk flail about in their unending miserable cycle. The paladin, Lorcal, 100% instigated the brawl here, where Strahd swiftly knocked out every single player character except for one, the female elf cleric. Oh, I don't like where this is going. Strahd hovered over the unconscious paladin, grappled the poor bloke, and commanded his own cleric, his personal carriage driver, to cast Healing Word on Lorcal. Strahd then proceeded to smash the paladin's face in with his fist, knocking him out again. Another exhaustion point. Wow. Wow. So you gave him an exhaustion point, and now you're styling on him. That's fucking awesome. It's like you knock the player character out, give him an exhaustion point, wake him up, force somebody to wake him up, and then just knock him out again to give him another. I love it, man. I'm gonna use that. That's so evil. That's brilliant. That's awesome. Okay. I'm fully on board with this guy now. I'm on board. Strahd then turns his attention to the now horrified and shell-shocked elf cleric, and nonchalantly said, "It seems your companion here needs your help. He may not last too much longer." Where she, in the high tense situation, obeyed, and was greeted with a cold, "Lorcal thanks you," before knocking him back into unconsciousness, only to repeat it over and over again. Oh no. I broke the paladin. He begged, pleaded for his life, and I offered to spare him if he did one thing: kiss Strahd's muddied boots. He complied, and was met with a vicious kick to his battered face for another exhaustion point of 6, one away from death. Wow. Wow, this guy's cold. But sometimes you gotta let them know what the stakes are, you know? Sometimes you gotta let them know. My players were stunned, and I was grinning. All of them came to me after that session and said how much they enjoyed that intense character-driven scene a lot. It hit the notes of what I imagine a tense, hopeless and dark moment would be in a tabletop role-playing game. Something that pushes a character's arc naturally. The paladin character, for 10 sessions after, was plagued by this humiliation, and he grew sour, even attempting deals with the dark powers in hopes to never have that happen to him again. It was growth, and he prevailed in the end, and died a hero's death to the same man who tried to break him. A story for another time. Okay. But for now, for the bad part of this hobby story I've experienced, here it comes. Okay, excellent. I allow for nearly everything in my campaigns except for a few things. On-screen sex, always fade to black if it goes there, any sort of sexual assault encounters, and finally, on-screen child harm / killing. Yeah, that's me, man. That's basically me, yeah. And by the way, remember that this guy, as said, like, he allows it in his games, just not on screen, right? That happened in Black Coats as well. We did have younglings being killed off screen. That did happen in Black Coats. It's a dark world. Dark shit happens. Go sue me, right? If any of these things happened off screen, it will only be mentioned after the incident, like investigating a corpse or the aftermath of a village raid, etc. Enter the Icewind Dale campaign, and I was a player of a role on Roll20. I've had mixed experiences playing for DMs to run campaigns. Paying for DMs to run campaigns. From good to odd, and to this. I spoke to the DM, we'll call him John, for weeks before the campaign. He did an interview to see if I'd fit, and we hit it off. Two DMs bouncing ideas and concepts off of each other, as well as sharing similar styles and appreciations for dungeon mastering a campaign, and the no-nos we did admonish, such as the 3 listed prior that I disallow. I waited a couple of weeks because no one was joining as a player in that time, until finally a new guy showed up. A new player to D&D, let's call him Phil. Phil made the typical edgelord PC. Super cringe, like, dear lord, it took effort to make the guy contribute something or anything, but he was new, so I don't mind. I was proud of my player character, a rogue ex-assassin half-elf. I love Lord of the Rings and play Aldari in Warhammer, called Vasilios, who finally settled in, found love and had a child with his elf wife. His past had caught up to him though, and his teen daughter was abducted on the way back home from school. Only a note pointing north, and eventually 10 towns. I swear I didn't base it off of the movie. Taken closer to John Wick, if anything. Okay, sorry. I read this sometimes because the way it's written, it is broken up very strangely. So as somebody who writes and marks essays, you know, if it's written that way, that's how I'll read it, because I've got to mark it that way, which is why some of these stories sometimes come across a bit higgledy-piggledy when I'm reading them. So I'm going to go back and read that bit again. I swear, I didn't base it off the movie Taken. It was closer to John Wick, if anything. I friggin' love Keanu. Anyway, my character, being a father, had a soft spot for children, and even though he was edgy, he was always open to help families unable to help themselves. Rough around the edges, but a heart of gold stereotype. The third player, a cleric, was our last member, and so we finally set out for the cold north. Excellent. We had a couple of good sessions. A fun, interesting way of getting everybody together without knowing one another first. Even though it was awkward for my character to constantly be the face of the party because I was somehow the least dark and broody, while the cleric was there enjoying the RPing between the 3 of us, which was fine by me. Then session 3 came, a new guy. So, in spirit of all the other troubled aliases on your channel, we'll call him David. Hooray! David, the red flags came up instantly. Wanting specialised rules, homebrewed subclass of a homebrewed class, Witch Hunter, and a backstory with special abilities that made our resident edgelord blush. David's PC was sort of a weird take on a vampire, 300 years old, and oh boy, that backstory. He was called the Boogeyman of 10 Towns, way back when, because, well, he was a serial murderer. Yes, a kidnapper and killer. One long forgotten and long rehabilitated into a Hannibal Lecter of poor 10 Towns. I messaged our dungeon master, John, about my concerns. He reassured me he would handle it if anything went astray. Quick backstory, John really needed the money, and we all, David included, paid the discounted month's worth of sessions up front. We were kind of stuck. Alright. David started out strange, shall we say. obnoxious and flirtatious to us and the barmaids, carrying more conversations than Edgelord had in both sessions. But an air of tension between our characters was always looming above. My PC did not like him, at all. Always kept one eye open while around him. Before our first session with David concluded, we settled in for the night at the local inn. I paid for everybody so we could have separate rooms, being that I did not want to be within 20 feet near that dude. We were each given our own scene to do as we wish before falling asleep. Phil sharpened his sword, Cleric just went to sleep. I opened the random note along with a picture of my PC's daughter for renewed resolution before falling asleep. It was a private, touching moment for my character, one the DM gave me inspiration for. David's character, well, he did not go to sleep. Of course he doesn't, and I bet he was going to do something incredibly perverted. Let's see. I roll stealth check, David said. Okay, why? Asked John. I want to sneak out of the window without anybody knowing. He proceeded to roll a dirty 20. Okay, where are you going? Again, asked John. I want to check out if anything suspicious is going on around. DM shrugs and responds, after long minutes you find a woman with her teenage daughter on the nearest bench, facing the frozen lake, as if in prayer. I'd like to hear what they're saying. Which is fair enough. Okay, yeah, this is going normally. Fair enough. I get what he's doing. This is fine. He rolled high on the perception check. Okay, cool. DM says, they're speaking softly, and you hear them thanking Auril at the end of every prayer, says John. I can feel the tension now. In Rime of the Frost Maiden, Auril, the Winter Goddess, is the big bad of the module's cover art, but a lot of people still worship her in the north for various reasons. And this will be my warning for those listening. Brace yourself. Okay. Well, it's going alright from now on, man. Like, I don't really see... David, in eagerness, replies, I want to sneak up behind her and slit her throat. What? Like, are you sure? The DM asked, confused. Yes, David reassured, rolling low for stealth for the first time. It doesn't take a good roll to get his wish, and the poor woman dies. Then David asked, did the girl see me kill her mother? I don't need to indulge what happened next, but with his roll and being right next to the girl, she would, in fact, be dead. Right, so she died. I kill her next, David quickly announced. I think that it was the first time that even the cleric spoke out, and the entire chat went like, what the fuck, dude? After a minute of telling him how messed up this was on so many levels, he conceded and left the girl alone. John retconned him ever making an attack on the girl as well. At this point, the session concluded, and I'm sure John was in multiple conversations over private messages about the new guy, David. I told John that I'll probably be leaving the game if David's behaviour didn't improve, as who in their right mind wanted to play with a hobo murderer and a child murderer at that. I also told him that if my PC ever found out about David's PC murdering the mother, that he'd assassinate him at every chance he got. At night or mid-battle, then I'd leave the campaign. DM laughed, agreed, and co-plotted with me for fun with everything I said and criticised the new player about it in public. Okay. I mean, this seems like a bit of a bitch move because you're going behind the guy's back. Just say to him, man. I know you did it in chat, but like literally message him and say, look, this isn't appropriate. We don't want it in our game. Please don't do that again. Nothing wrong with that, but going to the DM and making plans, it kind of smacks of like childhood playground behaviour. But I wasn't there, so I can't really judge that harshly. At some point between that session and the next, Phil, John, and I got together in Discord and chatted it up, and found out that John wanted to DM another campaign, but didn't have the funds to run it. I, more than willing to help out if it meant more games for him, purchased Roll20's module of Tomb of Annihilation, another great module. He thanked me a lot, and I said whenever he was prepped and ready, I'd be more than happy to bring my warlock along. Awesome, man. You seem like a really cool dude. Like you're there to help people out in the hobby. I like it. I like this stuff. A couple of sessions pass. I'm looking for any mistake the new guy makes, David, to see if my character would catch him in another murderous act, but nothing. My PC, though, knew how much of a creep this dude was. We met with Chapter 1's big boss. The fight was hard fought and fun. David's character was pulling off some bullcrap spider walking on the house walls, whilst self-healing with every hit he landed. My eyes were rolling with every cringy power he brought, and to my surprise, David's PC fell unconscious on a rooftop, battling the boss. Our cleric, out of spells, Edgelord and I, out of range, and busy with the boss almost murdering us next. David failed 2 saving throws, and the laughing god looked down upon us, giving him a natural 20 to stand back up again, alive and well. Even if he did die, I'm sure his next PC would have fallen from the same tree as his boogeyman. We congratulated each other and the session was over. Okay, fair enough. I quit the campaign shortly after, telling John I'd rather be a part of his new adventure along with Phil, and he happily accepts. Okay. A few days go by, and it's session 1 for Tombs of Annihilation. It was a good setup for the adventure into the jungle next session. Phil wasn't an edgelord anymore, and he actually did very well as an aristocrat wizard. Why he didn't choose that in the other campaign, I don't know, but I was impressed he pulled off the eloquent snobby nerd. We all talked for a bit after session, and everybody seemed excited to see what would happen next. I checked into the Discord some hours later. I had several channels I was a part of, mostly for D&D DMs, and I noticed something very off. I couldn't find our campaign channel at all. I looked up John on my friends list and saw his account was missing as well. Not even 10 minutes had passed and I received a message from Phil telling me the same thing. He couldn't find John or his other campaign rooms and the players he was a part of as well. He even said that he heard from other players that every single room ran by John had just vanished. We checked Roll20. John was gone. I was worried. Was he hacked? Ghosted? We were all confused. I had just spent months with the guy, auto payments for a month's worth of games, and gifted him a module. Phil opened up and admitted to me that he had spoken to John for months as well, and wanted to financially help out a good DM in need to play the game we both loved. So Phil had donated over $500 worth of books and supplements on Roll20 for John to use and have Phil enjoy the game with him as a DM. And now he was gone. No word, nothing. Wow. Dude. Time went by and I still hadn't heard anything from or about John. Phil finally contacted me with a voice call over Discord, where we found out that John had another Roll20 account and was currently running sessions. Disappointment was an understatement. I was shocked. I mean, Phil and I thought we were all online friends at this point. I emailed Roll20 letting them know of the situation, where they gladly reimbursed my gift to John. I can't say the same for Phil. That's cool, man. I like that. I like the fact that he reimbursed you. I don't know why John did what he did. Was he a long-term scammer? Did he feel overwhelmed and just dip out of caring for others in the process? It sucked regardless. Phil invited me to play in a new free-to-play campaign with limited time reservation. My hopes were low. I went in the session, character already made, with 3 others, including Phil. It was a strange session from a strange DM. I didn't hear anything from the group chat after, nor did I care. The DM cancelled the next session multiple times, and that was that. And the end of this saga. Sorry for being long, but I hope you were entertained by my horror story. The hobby has a lot more good than bad in it. It's just entertaining to poke fun at all the bad experiences when you look back on it. Cheers, North. Well, this is the thing that I've been saying for ages, right? Pick your opponents. Don't pick your rules. And this is what I mean about 40k and about D&D and tabletop role-playing. Getting the perfect table is so difficult, but when you do, it really does make the entire experience. The same thing goes for 40k as well. Pick the people you're playing with, don't pick the army. Pick the people you're playing with, don't pick the module. A good set of players and a good DM will make any module sing. The same goes for 40k. 2 good players who want to have fun will make it a decent game. If one of them's not having fun or is determined to be a try-hard neckbeard, he will ruin it for the other person as well. That's just how it goes, right? Find people, Don't find games, find people. Alright, love you all long time. I will be back over the weekend, likely on Sunday for a video, we will see. I will be doing streaming as well, probably going to be streaming The Witcher on Sunday. Love you all long time. I will see you on Monday for some more nightmares and some more, well, Games Workshop stories on Monday. I will see you next week. Have a lovely time. Have a good one. See ya. Bye.